Hi, Theresa McGallicher here with my 5th video in this series on raising your consciousness and techniques that you can use to have a clearer mind, a higher vibration, and feel better about your life. This week I've been talking about doing shadow work, which is a way of looking at your subconscious and seeing what kinds of things, thoughts are in there that you haven't examined that are dragging you down or holding you back so that you can release them and feel lighter. And today I want to specifically talk about a kind of shadow work that is based on the psycho-spiritual text A Course in Miracles, which is my personal spiritual practice. And this technique was developed by Diederik Wolsak, and it's called the Choose Again exercise, 6 steps to freedom. So Diederik Wolsak is a Dutch teacher of A Course in Miracles. He now lives in Canada, and he runs a healing retreat center called Choose Again, also in Costa Rica. And his life is an amazing story. He spent many, many years as an addict and struggling and suffering in life. He was a star athlete, but he just wasn't happy. He had a lot of failed relationships, and late in life he became a student of A Course in Miracles, and not only did he resolve all of his own personal issues, but he was able to help many, many other people resolve their issues through this process that he developed. So I'm just going to briefly share this process with you. I use it myself whenever I feel any kind of upset, which is rarely anymore. And I write it out on paper, and I have found it to be extremely effective for releasing negative emotions, negative stories, and negative feelings from the past so that you can enjoy the present and the future. A Course in Miracles says that we take the past, we bring it into the present, and then that affects the future so that we keep looping in this repeating patterns and we never seem to be able to escape from them. So the key to escape from negative thinking patterns is to look at stories that we have believed and to forgive ourselves for having believed something that was not true, and that allows us to see things differently. So here's the 6-step process. The first step is to recognize that you're upset. Recognize that you're not happy, that you're not feeling peaceful, and that there's a problem. And the second step is to recognize that it's about you. It's not about anybody else. It's not about what someone is doing to you or what someone said to you or how someone treated you, but it's about how you are responding and how you are reacting to whatever happened. So that is about taking full accountability for our own happiness in life by recognizing that whenever we are upset, whenever we are not happy, it's always because of us and the thoughts that we are having. Then the third step is probably the hardest step for most people, and that is to feel the feeling and identify the feeling. So what happens often when I coach people on this technique is that they will say, I'm upset and I know it's about me, but here's some story, blah, 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 and they'll go into a story. A story is not a feeling. So Diederik Wolsak actually has on his website, if you go there, chooseagain.com, a long list of feelings that you can choose from on a worksheet where you can do this. And it's important to try to narrow down as specifically as you can what it is that the upset is for you. Do you feel angry? Or do you feel humiliated? Or do you feel disappointed? Because the feeling is the key. What happens is we have a feeling when we're young and something negative happens, and that feeling is so uncomfortable and so upsetting to us that we don't want to feel it. So we repress it, and then forever after, that similar situation will come up over and over again so that we can heal. But because we don't want to feel the feeling, we never have the healing. So you've got to feel the feeling, identify the feeling, and then you can move on to step 4. And step 4 is where you become like a detective in your own life, and you go back to the very first time that you can remember feeling that same feeling, as young as you can recall. It doesn't have to be when you were a baby. It could be when you were a teenager, however far back you can go, where you can identify, oh, I felt exactly the same way when this other incident happened. And then once you have identified what that incident is, think about how you were treated, what people said to you at that time when you were younger, and what that means in terms of what kind of person would have deserved to have been treated that way or spoken to in that way. What kind of story did you make up about yourself in that instance that created this cycle for you? And then the very last step is step 6, where you embrace the truth about yourself and you forgive yourself for having believed whatever you thought that meant at the time, and for having misunderstood what was really going on and what you are really all about. So I'd like to give you an example from my own life so you can understand how this process works. So when I was about 12 or 13 years old, I wanted to be in a beauty pageant, and I signed up and I practiced a dance routine that I was going to perform as my talent portion for the program. And I was very nervous, and I got up on stage in front of a crowd to do the dance, and I got stage fright, and I completely forgot my entire routine. So I got started dancing, and then I just went blank. And I went to my mom and I asked her to turn the music off, and she said, "No, keep dancing, you're doing great." And I said, "No, I forgot the routine. I don't know what to do." So she said, "Just go out and curtsy and leave the stage." And that's what I did. But I was so humiliated. I was so embarrassed. And it was especially hard for me because I knew that I had to come back out on stage in an evening gown for that portion of the pageant and smile and look poised and act as though nothing had happened, even though I knew there was absolutely no chance that I could have won that beauty pageant, which I did. And I moved on with my life, and I didn't realize that it had had any real impact on me. But later on, this past year, when I started doing these Facebook Lives and I joined Toastmasters and I tried to speak in public, or even before that in school when I had to stand up and give presentations before class, I was always a nervous wreck. I was terrified of failure. I had such bad stage fright and such anxiety about speaking in public that it hampered me from being able to perform. And when I did this 6-step choose again process, and I sat down and realized that this stage fright was all coming from this one particular incident when I was a teenager, I saw that I had created a story for myself about what kind of person would have failed in that incident and felt humiliated. And that was a person who was not successful, not poised, not confident on stage, and I had believed that story, and I had never questioned that story again. But what happened was, later on, every single time that I had to get up and speak in front of a group, I felt like I was going to die. It was so scary. Once I saw that I had created that story for myself, and I forgave myself for believing that I was not talented, that I was not a good speaker, that I was not confident on stage, everything shifted in my mind. And here's a funny thing that happened. I contacted my mom and my aunt and my sister and other people that had been there at the time when this happened, and none of them remembered it at all. None of them remembered that I had terrible stage fright and had stopped my routine right in the middle of dancing. For me, it was this tremendous humiliation, and for them, it wasn't even a blip in their memory. They didn't even remember it at all. So I was able to change the story and reframe the story and see that it was just a learning experience and it wasn't this big upset that I had created for myself in my mind. And what happened after that was, because I was able to forgive myself for having believed this false image of myself, I'm now comfortable talking to you on Facebook and on film and on stage. So that is the Choose Again exercise created by Diederik Wolsak, Wolsak, teacher of A Course in Miracles. It's a very powerful exercise, and you can find it online if you want to know more about it. Thank you so much for joining me. It's great to see you guys on here today, and I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye-bye.